I wanted to give big updates on Trump's speech last week about communist China that you and I have been detailing for years. The documents have come out, but even more, you have federal court documents that they've told you not to release, but you're going to do that.
There's a dirty Venezuelan software package that lets you steal elections. It was in Smartmatic, where it was called SAES, Smartmatic Automated Election System. They bought an American company called Sequoia, and they put it inside Sequoia, where it was called WinEDS. That dirty package got shifted, and it's actually inside Dominion. They call their system Democracy Suite. They've been denying like hell that they have WinEDS. I'm going to prove to you that it is in their system. What's happened now is Liberty has come along. Actually, Liberty is just a new name on Dominion. It's the same corporation. So that dirty package is still inside. Trump released this last Thursday night, the CIA document summary of their own intelligence reporting 04 to 20. Document 2, they talk about how they have had persistent concerns that Venezuela was developing systems to cheat elections. Well, they did in fact develop that software, and it was the WinEDS that I just walked you through. They are acknowledging that yes, Venezuela developed this, and they've been stealing or trying to steal their own elections with it. Let's go to an internal Dominion email, which I'm not supposed to show anyone. This is from 2011. A guy named Craig Short, contractor for Dominion, is talking to Sherry Hadsky. You're going to see in a moment. She's the Secretary of State of Louisiana. This is all about the WinEDS upgrade. Now, remember, you're going to see Dominions come out and say, we don't have WinEDS. No, we never did. That's all some junk from the past. But meanwhile, their internal emails, they're talking about upgrading their system. She says, hey, confidentially, if Democracy Suites, if this runs on Windows 7 and this WinEDS runs on Windows 2003, don't we need two servers? So she knew, and Dominion knew, that they were in fact still using WinEDS. And the guy confirms, yes, that we're going to need two servers. This is an email from Eric Coomer in 2020. He's running the elections in Chicago. He's writing a guy, Goran Obradovic, who's in Serbia. They're talking about setting up servers to process ballots as they come in. So there's a few days before the election. He says 30 minutes, 12,000 ballots. We may have some timing problems. We can set up the cartridges to load overnight as they come in scare quotes, and then
I mean, like, oh, come in, yeah.
As they come in, meaning we're going to be uploading them, but pretending that these are ballots coming in from the field. We can then load them into the WinEDS. So here's Eric Coomer, the CTO of Dominion, acknowledging that WinEDS is being used in their system. He swore up, down, and sideways since then, as is Dominion, and he's saying our good Dominion machines don't have any of that WinEDS package in them. Here's a guy, Edmundo Rojas. You look on his LinkedIn. He's at Dominion Voting Systems, but he's also under contract as a senior product specialist to Liberty Vote.
Yeah, so they're rebranded. Don't worry, Republicans own it now. Everything's fine.
But here's another Dominion voting guy, again, writing to Coomer, establishing VPN connection into the virtual machines today to reach the county's electronic voting machines. And on the next page, our tablet arrives in Shanghai Customs. We're waiting for clearance. So the tablets you're voting on are actually going through Shanghai Customs where China gets to edit them. This is all under what's Liberty Vote. Chinese-made equipment with Venezuelans who are all in our system, the Venezuelans here in the U.S. who are now working for Liberty Vote. You trace these Venezuelans back to the same university through Smartmatic and Sequoia, and now they're in different places running our elections in the United States.
A multinational corporate intelligence conglomerate.
Chinese, Iranian, Venezuelan, they're all in on it. It's one constellation of bad actors.
And it's the Democrats and the CIA, as you pointed out, contract people that hate us to do it, so they have plausible deniability. Oh, as they come in,
you get what's going on.
We preload the results before they come in.
What they really do is when they set up a Dominion server for some county, they set up next to it a second machine. That is the WinEDS machine. They run the election on this machine. All this stuff gets in. And what they're not telling anyone is it goes from the Dominion machine to this EDS dirty machine and then gets reported into the election reporting system. So before the results go from the county to the legitimate election reporting system, they're run through this WinEDS dirty Venezuelan software. They and only they even know it exists.
All right, we're here. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Oh man, we had a hell of a last couple days with system. What is it? It's July 25th, 2026. Thank you for being here. I want to say God bless everybody. Pray for peace. You know, definitely need to pray for peace, if you know what I mean. A lot going on. We did an update before the show yesterday, and my computer wouldn't start back up, and so that was about noon. I spent about 4 hours working on it, seeing if I could get it to boot, and me and the IT over the phone. Spent a few hours working on it. Couldn't get it to reboot. Then IT came this morning. We spent majority of the day. A brand new setup. I mean, everything's new. It's less than a year old, and so we went through all the bells and whistles. I'm not a computer guy, so obviously he's done it. Thank you very much, Thomas. You're godsend, and went through everything. We thought it was a driver. We thought it was this or that. Blah 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 blah, and then finally we found out that it was one of the memories. So we was able to pull one out. We still got memory, and we got to contact the manufacturer and get it fixed. So we're here. So thanks for your patience. We missed the show last night, and I was just like, man, what the hell's going on? Because I was having trouble years ago. So I'm like, okay, let's fix this problem. Let's just start over. Let's just get a new system, new everything. And we just went and went and got everything new. So we had everything that we needed so we could do a nice, clean show, and then stuff like that happens. But it happened once before, the last time I did an update, it did it. So we thought it was something else. Come to find out, because it started back up, come to find out it was that memory. So we pulled one of those out, and I'm sure they'll take care of it. This American company that I got my stuff from, they're pretty reputable. So we'll just hope for the best. All right. What do we got? What do we got going on? Let's talk about Dominion systems for just a minute. Now, we know from the last 20 years, 25 years, 26 years, we know that there's been real issues with voting. We know this. We know that they've been, for the most part, just installing whoever they want. We know this. Now, after I've spent all this time doing this research, it's very clear that they've been selecting forever. And, the Bush Gore thing is where the first time that it really was like, oh, there might be something to this thing, and then as the years went by, and they really thought that they were going to steal the 2016 election, but they were shocked at the popularity that Trump had in that term. Or maybe they put him in there. I don't know. I mean, at this point, looking at all the stuff that we're seeing, who knows what happened? Maybe the one with the most money wins the election. I don't know. Anyway, so because we know that too, the one that had all these positions, Congress, Senate, the one that can raise the most money seems like they are the ones that get elected, right? So that means that they can fill the coffer more than the other person, and in most cases that is true. Anyway, so there is major issues. And when you pull it back a little bit, I'm just going to run through this here for a minute, just so maybe people can understand the real thing that's going on. I mean, yeah, we got an Iran war going on. We got this. Now we have Putin talking about, they're giving Iran weapons and all this stuff. And we have all this stuff going on. China's feeding Iran weapons, and they're teaming up and doing all this stuff. We know that. Okay, that's one thing. But did you know that Iran had a hand in our elections for years? Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, China, all these countries, not Russia, but all the other ones, yes. And in that report that Patrick Byrne was talking about, he talks about how they were stealing votes by manipulating the election system through the machines. And we've heard about this for the last 6 years. And so, one of the things that gets missed very quickly and very easily, I'm just checking my sound because it just doesn't sound right. So, um, and over the years, hold on a second. Let me just. Can somebody just tell me if my sound sounds okay? I'm gonna go ahead and jump in here and check it really fast, just so I can make sure that my mic is working properly. Because it seems okay. It seems okay. It seems like it's just my backup, my feedback back, my voice back. So anyway, so we know that this has been going on for years. We know that these characters have been involved. We know that the globalists have been involved. We know all these different functions or people have been involved in elections forever, right? We know this, but we didn't know that the reason why they went and scooped up Maduro was because he was he had firsthand knowledge, and he was the one that was in charge of the Dominion machines over there in Venezuela. This has been happening for years. Remember, all these other countries have the same problem going on. And what's his name? Bolsonaro is in prison because he won the election. They said that he didn't whatever. However, I don't remember. I didn't follow it real close. But they removed him before or they stole it from him or whatever, and then they indicted him, put him in prison. He's in prison forever, right? And so this is the thing that the globalists do. They do this. They try to do it to Trump too. All these things, put him in prison, do all that stuff. But did you know that part of the reason why we're in this hot war with Iran isn't really what they say? Let that sink in for a minute. It's not really what they say. They're using, and they do this. We went into Afghanistan. They said that they blew up the twin towers and blah 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 blah. And the truth is, they wanted the oil, they wanted the poppy seeds, they wanted the heroin, they wanted all that stuff. Because see, when we were over there, when the military was over there, the military from many people told me that they were protecting the poppy plants, that which is how they make heroin, right? And they were over there standing guard on those crops. Don't take it from me. Ask anybody that was in the Marines back in 21 to 23, 24, or I mean 2002, 2004, 2006, 2008, all those years, that's what they were doing. There was literally US Marines over there taking guard, holding guard for all these different things that had nothing to do with war, right? And so that's one thing. So now you got Iran had hands in the election. So that's one of the reasons why. Remember, when you think about Trump, you got to remember what he does. He is, egomaniac. Everything about Trump is about his ego. Oh, I want to pull it surprise, and oh, I really like that. Makes me feel good. All that stuff. He's very bombastic. Very egotistical, and so when he found out that they had a hand in still in the 2020 election, if you haven't noticed, they've been picking them all off. That's why they're talking about going to Cuba right now. They're using other reasons to go into Cuba. They're using other reasons to go into Venezuela. They're using other reasons to go into Iran. But at the end of the day, my opinion, just my opinion, allegedly, the reason why this is one of the major reasons this is going on is because of how they made Trump look like an idiot, and he don't play that shit, right? So there's other reasons. There is a war going on because because the nuclear disarmament and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, well, when you really look at what's going on, everywhere that they've been, where they've started conflict, it's behind a different reason than what they say the reason was. Do your research. You'll see what I'm saying. If you haven't done the research on this, you got to do the research and really look at what really is going on here, because when you figure it out, when you really figure it out, when you really see it, you'll be like, "Oh my God." And this is why, last point I'll make, this is why all the military from back in the Iraq, um, uh, the war that we just got out of for 21 years. What was it? My brain just froze up on me. Give me a second. Not Iran. Iraq, and what the fuck is it called? Why can't I think of? I need to. I can't think of it. It'll come to me in a minute. Anyway, the war that we were in, all those Marines, all those soldiers, all those military personnel that were over there fighting the Afghanistan war, all say the same thing. If I would have known what I was getting myself into, but when I was 18 years old, I wanted to fight. I wanted to fight for my flag and my country. When I look back at it now, unless there are those that are brainwashed still, I would have not. I would have had a different context. It would have been different for me. And that is what's happening to this generation. There are some that was like, oh, Trump's in office, perfect time to get in the Marines. I want to go to the Marines and I want to be all I can be, go to the Marines, right? And then there's the other ones that are like, I'm not going to fight for Israel. I'm not fighting for Israel. And we've been fighting for Israel forever. The whole thing with 9/11, we can go down the rabbit hole some other time about that. But my point is, these wars are fought for the wrong reasons. And we're going to spend a lot of time tonight doing and talking about where we're at with Iran, China, Russia, Venezuela, all of them. I mean, we're gonna touch on all of it here tonight. We got other stuff though, but I just wanted to get this out right now, get this started so we're clear. And it all hinges on a stolen election, multiple stolen elections. And what they're doing right now is they're trying to turn it around because the Republicans, the Rhino Republicans, because now if you call yourself a Republican, you're a squish, right? You're a sellout. You're a MAGA, MAGA fake patriot, right? We see this. We see what's going on now. We've pulled the covers back and we see what the Posos and all these people are. We know what they are. We know what they are now. We see the truth. And if you don't see the truth, you got to do your research. What the kind of stuff that they're putting out right now is complete garbage. Okay? It's garbage. We're going to cover some of that too tonight, a little bit. I'm not going to get into a whole long dialogue about the fake MAGA, air quotes, patriots. Okay? We're going to just talk about some basic stuff, because that show is going to be a 3-hour show by itself when we get into that. The Charlie Kirk, all the stuff, all that stuff. If you don't know, man, you should really, really, really look at do some research to really find out what's going on, because at the end of the day, they're fake. How's it go? They're fake and gay. Okay. They just are. Benny Johnson. I mean, all those clowns. They talk a great, big, good game, and at the end of the day, they're not. They're full of shit. Okay, but we're not going to go down there tonight. I want to, but we're not doing it yet. I'm going to wait until John comes back, and we're going to do that together, because I think that would be a great topic for me and my co-host. That is, it's summertime. Kids are out of school. They're doing, traveling, that's great. I'm glad that they're able to do that stuff. It's awesome. I mean, they get to go do things and this and that, and that's awesome. And but he'll be back. We'll just wait for him. Anyway, one of the other things that's going on that is, well, let's finish up this first because I think the polling part is very important. Let me not get out in the weeds too far. The polling is a problem. And so you have this thing that they're doing with Venezuela and Cuba, and they've drug Iran into it. And, Israel's been, part of the controversy around elections and 9/11 and all these different theories, allegedly. And now the polling is so bad for Trump. He's trying to pull a rabbit out of his ass, and they're going to lose the midterm. They're going to lose. They're just going to lose. I don't see any way of redeeming themselves at this point with what they've done to the America First. America First and all the Democrats that came to the Republican side and voted for Trump in 2024 are gone. They're out. I'm one of them. Out. Can't find a reason to vote really at all. My voice needs to be heard, but I don't see until they make some major changes with voting and all that stuff. That's why the poll numbers are so low. I'll still vote. I'll probably vote independent. If there's somebody worth voting for, if there's nobody worth voting for, my vote don't matter anyway. But I mean, if, for the sake of voting, being a part of the American patriotism and vote, I'll vote. But I'm not voting for, any of these idiots. I just can't bring myself to do it because I've already been burnt and we've all been burnt. We all know what's going on. We've all seen it. Now we know that this was a big old scam. And I don't know if it's Trump's old age or if it's mind control, or we've covered all that stuff. It could be a bunch of different things, or because I do not buy Trump is stupid. I just don't. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. There's no way. We've seen him for all these years front and center more than any other politician on the planet. Trump has been front and center with message, a clear message. And something happened a year and a half ago. His message changed and his actions have changed and everything. And some people, because I'm out there talking to people, and some people are like, they really think that this whole thing that Trump did was a big scam. The whole time he was this person, but he was waiting till the prime opportunity to flip the script and be who he is now. I mean, because you think about it, they just signed the 219, the bill 219, the NDAA, and that is it's still got to make it through the Senate, but what's the Senate? They're two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? They're the same. They're all Israel. They're all paid off. They're all that stuff. So anyway, we'll get to that. Let me play this clip about polling from Richard Barris real quick. Is that who it is? Let me play this from Thursday, and then we'll be right back, and then we'll get started with the rest of the show. I'm glad I was able to get that off my chest, though. Stand by.
I was trying to help him win. I was giving him what I thought were very clear, path forward of objective things he could do to convince Americans that he was focused on their desperate needs. And at the end of the day, I just didn't feel like he was that engaged. And his other meeting, like the one after me, was like rich people trying to give him statues and stuff. And he was talking about Lindsey Graham's golf drive. And it's just like he wasn't engaging in the fight. Like, I don't think he had the fight. And listen, I don't think I would personally be able to go through the things that Donald Trump went through. They put him through so much, like all the convictions and all the attacks.
Well, let me interrupt again because you're so on target. Again, you're on the show last June or whatever. You say you're in an emergency situation. Everyone's turning on you. Change course now. He could have done it. The vice president sees it, calls you up there, 3-hour meeting. He shows up for part of it. You lay it out. He's like, oh, I got to go be given gold statues and talk about Lindsey Graham's golf drive. You're literally brought in as an intervention to like convince him because they know you're the top pollster. I mean, again, it's like exactly, I'm done helping him because it doesn't do anything. I mean, I remember telling him when he was president-elect 10 years ago, sir, Fiona Hill is on the board of George Soros' foundation. This general is on it. They are your enemies.
How can we be, the most powerful country in the world, and it's not safe to walk around our cities? What the hell is going on? Yeah. I mean, Soros, honestly, misanthropic. For someone who has, sort of claims to be doing good, but actually he is not. He is tearing down the fabric of society. So terrible.
Obama signed the defense authorization, NDAA with $2 billion with stay behind networks. What's that? They put their people in to counter and undermine you. Here's the legislation.
What is the legal theory behind the grand conspiracy, and is it viable in the federal courts?
I think there's a good chance that you're talking about a deprivation of civil rights under 18 U.S. Code 242. Ironically, perhaps, you could argue that there's a conspiracy to defraud the United States, which was a lead charge that Jack Smith used for January 6th.
And he's like, oh, Alex, you're so great. Let me talk to your wife. And seriously, God, your husband's incredible. You know how great he is? I mean, like 10 minutes, she's got him on speaker glazing me because that's his currency. And he does that. They glaze each other. I'm like, dude, I don't want to be glazed. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean. People ask like, oh, you're mad he called you low IQ. No, I stopped. They used to call and say, he's going to call you in a few hours, and you wait by the phone. Will you take a call from the president? I got where I wouldn't even care because literally it's a robot machine kissing your ass to manipulate you.
I was getting hundreds of direct messages from 3-time Trump voters who were literally burning all their Trump hats and 55-gallon drums out back. Like, that's where we were because of all of the overt, antagonization that he was taking out on his original base at the time. Like, that was the backdrop of my trip. And I don't want to be mean to the staff, again, because, they were listening very closely, and JD, wanted Trump to hear my message, and Susie was listening and taking notes, and they wanted to learn from me. But it's like, what I didn't see was when you go into a major corporation and it's like, this company has a vision. Somebody laid out a mission, and I bet you they know what their quarterly goals are. And I bet you if you look, somebody's keeping track of how all the meetings tie back to strategic initiatives.
And with the midterm elections a little more than 100 days away, the clock is ticking for President Trump to get out of this war before voters head to the polls. It's making a lot of Republicans nervous. It's already, as we know, unpopular. According to the New Washington Post Ipsos poll, 69% of Americans disapprove of the handling of this conflict. Republicans cannot let this become an endless distraction, especially if they want to win in November.
Well, Americans aren't against the war. A poll just came out. Americans don't want high gasoline prices, but they're not against the war.
I got kind of mouthy, and I was like, you know what? Americans don't like oligarchy. They think that's what the problem is. And a lot of the people you're surrounding yourself make you look like an oligarch. And so you should smash the oligarchy and not be the oligarchy.
You said that. You said it on the show and after. A parade of Larry Ellison saying we're going to control you with AI ain't good, sir.
Yeah, it's bad. Like when you bring Mark Zuckerberg, who stole your election, into the White House the very first week of your inauguration, that is not a good look. And Susie was like, oh, that's really good. I'm going to write that down and use it. But it's like they didn't use it. You know what I mean? We're still...
They don't know to not bring Bill Gates in. They did that too. Our arch enemies?
Yeah. And you have the ties to Pfizer. It's all the way down. Just inconsistencies, betrayals.
Yeah, and so Mark Mitchell, he used to work for Rasmussen. And they tried to censor him. They try to tell him not to run the stories and not to talk about the polling and not, one thing about him is he just tells you how it is, regardless of if you're going to get your feelings hurt or not. He's just honest. That's why he has his new website's honestpoll.com. If you want the most accurate poll for what's going on, that's it. You see where they're at. 80-something% disapprove of, it's just bad. It's really bad. So at the end of the day, what happens when the Democrats take over the House and the Senate in this midterm election? It's going to be another 2018 all over again, 2019, where they just, can't get nothing done, all that stuff. That's what's going to happen, because all the polls show that Trump is, down to 29% approval. And I get that he's not running for president and all that stuff, but his polls really dictate how he does with his party. And his party is going to lose because of how he has handled this war and how he has lied to the people, how he's went against all of his people that backed him. All the people that backed him, he turned on them. And, I don't know if it's since I was really attempting to do the timeline on it. I don't know if it was when the Epstein files came out or if it was when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. It may have been when he was assassinated and he realized that anybody could be reached. At that point, maybe that's when he flipped. I don't know. It might have been just the Epstein files. I'm not sure. I know that there was a lot of hubbub about the Epstein files and all that stuff, which should be the number one thing going on right now, and it's not. It's all this other stuff. Iran war, all this bullshit. So anyway, what do you think? Hit me up in the comments and tell me what you think about the midterms. They're, right around the corner. They're really a few months away, and it doesn't look good. And I don't know if he's going to be able to pull something out. He thinks that he can always turn everything around, and he's, King Kong and all that stuff, but it just looks bad. And the other part of it is where we're headed. We just signed the 622 or 622 or the 224. They changed it. They relabeled it. Now it's the 219, where they give Israel rights to our intelligence and stuff. It's crazy. It really is. It's bonkers. It just doesn't make sense. All the things that's going on, and we're going to get into that. What do you think of that? I mean, what do you think about giving Israel all of our rights? Basically, we're not sovereign anymore. If it passes the Senate, we will not be a sovereign country anymore. So what do you think? What do you think about it? Like, it's just crazy. So I have a John Bowne report, and then we're going to get into this NDAA section 219 right now. Stand by.
America, it is vital that you don't fall asleep on Israel's creep into the U.S. military. On July 14th, the Senate's cloture vote on the bloated $1.15 trillion NDAA for fiscal year 2027 collapsed 50-46, falling short of the 60 votes needed. Senate Majority Leader John Thune pulled a slick maneuver, though, flipping his vote to no just to file a motion to reconsider and keep this monstrosity on life support. Buried deep inside are the infamous provisions, Section 219 in the House, Section 1217 in the Senate, sections that Representative Thomas Massie has rightly branded as an unprecedented institutional merger, jamming Israeli technology straight into America's weapons systems, slashing congressional oversight, and locking foreign influence into our defense industrial base.
In the NDAA Section 219, which is going to start commingling our military supply chains and technology with Israel's, doesn't make sense to do that with a country of 10 million people. But they've got that in the NDAA. I'm told that's not coming up this week, but we know it's going to come up sometime. probably sometime soon. And so I've offered an amendment to strip Section 219, it was called Section 224, from that bill.
While Democrats torpedoed the bill, mostly over Trump's Iran policy.
The real danger to national security is this war that's out of control. It's this war that has alienated our allies. It's this war that has totally diminished American power and ability to defend ourselves in the world.
But the real Trojan horse? AIPAC's Uniparty pulled one of the oldest tricks in the book, dangling a shiny carrot on a stick while they rammed the dagger of surrender deeper into our sovereignty. In a razor-thin procedural vote, the House bundled the SAVE Act that includes the toxic Section 219 Israel military tech merger, forcing Americans to swallow the unprecedented fusion of our weapon systems, supply chains, and defense industrial base with a foreign power just to get basic election integrity. You aren't getting real voter ID without handing over control of America's military future to Tel Aviv. How in the hell is this national defense, the fusion of U.S. and Israeli military tech, barely registered a whisper from the Mockingbird media? CNN, Fox, MSNBC, the New York Times, and the rest hammered the partisan gridlock angle nonstop, framing it as simple obstruction while burying the sovereignty-shredding details of this United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. Outlets that preach democracy and integrity treated Section 219 and 1217 like it was invisible.
Breaking news tonight. The major health scare across the country is lettuce making Americans sick.
Meanwhile, Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton is quietly hammering another nail into the coffin of American foreign policy independence. His Section 622 provision, now renamed 619, is still buried in the Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2027. The provision is a straitjacket forcing future presidents to expand and enhance intelligence sharing across virtually every sensitive domain in the Middle East, with strict limits on any president's ability to pause, reduce, or restrict that flow unless they can prove a specific and identifiable national security concern. This stealth provision remains a quiet time bomb, waiting for leadership to push it through, likely buried in a larger package when the timing is right to strike. As of today, nothing has moved in the Senate. Thune's motion sits ready while horse trading drags on. But the House is barreling forward this week, with the Rules Committee deciding today on Massey's amendment to strip Section 219. Patriots are flooding the lines, but the bipartisan blob keeps pushing this deeper fusion anyway. This NDAA isn't about defending America first. It's about entrenching forever wars, drafting our children into a hell pit, scoring foreign leverage, and forever entanglement. This is no time to fall asleep. Contact your reps and demand they kill these provisions before our military independence and our sovereignty is sold off for good. John Bound reporting for the Alex Jones Network at alexjoneslive.com.
Yeah, so that excuse me, that is a major fuck up for our country. It just is. It's not good. It it is label this. Yeah, one of the things that I don't understand about Congress, about government, all this stuff is, and I guess I don't know enough about it to really be able to go, oh, they're doing it because of this. All I know is all the talking heads and what they say, and we're going to get into that here in a minute. But if you think about what they're doing is they're giving away our sovereignty. They're literally so Israel. Who was it? I don't know if it was Vance or if it was Trump or if it was somebody from the cabinet talking about how when Israel comes, Netanyahu and his team come to the White House, that they have to debug the place because they find bugs everywhere all over the White House afterwards that weren't there before they showed up. So they already surveil all of the things that go on around Trump and his administration and all the rooms and all the cabinets and all this stuff. They already do that. And now they're giving them, or, potentially, if this passes the Senate, because it's, it's got through the House, goes to Senate, Trump will sign it like that because he's sucking Bibi Netanyahu's dick, allegedly. I have to say that so I don't get sued now, because they're also doing that stuff, right? You're not even allowed to talk shit about Israel or you're, get arrested now. It's just crazy. But the point is, if this passes, we no longer have an opportunity to say, no, we have intelligence that we're keeping for ourselves, and we'll give you intelligence that we find necessary for you to have. They get all of our intelligence, all of our weaponry, all of our everything that we have, all the stuff that, all the, plans and, everything, how to build weapons and all of our technology and all that stuff. They get it all. You read the bill, and I was just looking for this. I couldn't find it. I'll have to pull it up for the next show and just show you a breakdown, a full detailed breakdown of what this bill is and what it represents, and all the things that Israel will receive and all the things that we will lose as a result of signing this bill. So if you haven't, you should call your senator today. His voicemail should be so full that he can't take no more calls, and just call the switchboard over and over and over. It's kind of like one of those things where if we don't do something about it, it's over. But let's get into this a little bit. Let's listen to what people are saying about this wonderful bill, NDAA section 219, which was 622. We played that before. I should probably pull that clip up. I have a report on it, on what would happen if it does pass. Maybe I'll pull it up later. And just so you could see what this really represents, because, what they tell you, the stuff that they show you isn't what it is, right? Oh, this bill's for, saving kids in in Texas, but really what it is giving, it's just the way they write these bills, it's crazy. It's wild. So let's listen to what Glenn Beck. I always liked Glenn Beck. I used to think that Glenn Beck was just a boomer, and he was just a boomer, and his views were his, blah blah blah. But he is like an Israel firster. He's almost like what's his name? My brain is not working tonight. I don't know. The hell is his name? Ben Shapiro, or one of those dudes that just, their first thought is Israel, and then if he has room for America, he might think about bringing America along, but everything's about Israel constantly, Anyway, this is sickening, but we're going to play this, and I'm going to play a couple backups to show that he's lying out of his, he's just selling you a bunch of Fed slop bullshit. So hold on.
Okay, they passed the defense bill yesterday in the House. The fight was all about Section 219, okay? 1,500 words in a bill of hundreds of thousands of words. And it creates something called the United States Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. One thing Washington is not good at is naming stuff. Anyway, it orders the secretary to designate one official, an executive agent inside the Pentagon, whose job is to coordinate and accelerate joint research, testing, and industrial cooperation with Israel. Counter drone, this is missile and air defense, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, directed energy, cyber, biotechnology, and to also identify Israeli origin technology that can be moved into American weapons programs and promote joint ventures, joint licensing, and American-based production with Israeli firms. Now, AOC was like, oh my gosh, the Jews! It's an existential threat to our sovereignty and our democracy. It's going to merge parts of our military with the IDF. Jews, 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 they're drinking the blood of little Christian children. Oh. Now, Mike Lawler answered with, we do this all the time with other nations. I don't know. Maybe you should stop hating Jews so much? Now, Thomas Massey, a Republican of Kentucky, said, we shouldn't merge our military tech and supply chain with Israel's. We're not. Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, said the same thing from the other end of the spectrum. Marjorie Taylor Greene said a roll call would produce a list of names of members who committed treason and sold out to a foreign country. Committing treason. Wow. All right. So without any hyperbole or anything else, let me just specifically tell you what the text actually says and what it actually does. Section 219 does not merge the two militaries. I would never be for that. It doesn't create a joint command. I would never be for that. It doesn't put an American soldier under an Israeli officer. I would never be for that. It doesn't give anyone in Jerusalem a vote on where our carriers go. I wouldn't be for it. Read the section. None of that is there. Anyone telling you that American troops are being handed over is either wrong or counting on you just to be a nincompoop. Okay? It's not there. The cooperation that is there is not new. Iron Dome, Arrow, David Sling, counter drone work, anti-tunnel technology. We've been building these things together for 40 years, and Americans are alive today because of it. Here is what is new, not the cooperation, the officer. This is the one thing that's new. I want you to think of the Pentagon as an enormous airport, okay? And every piece of technology on Earth that wants to get into Americans' weapon systems has to go through the same terminal. They have to get evaluated, get tested. They have to compete for a contract. They have to get bought. It is slow and it is miserable, and it is slow and miserable for everyone on purpose, because that's what keeps the taxpayer from getting fleeced and the soldier from getting a rifle that jams all the time. Section 219 does not change where the line ends. However, it does build one country a dedicated lane, and then it hires a full-time employee of the United States whose entire job description is keeping that lane moving. Okay, that's what this executive agent is. It's not a treaty. It's not a committee, not a program. It's not a general from Israel looking over. Nothing. It's a person, an American with a title, an office, a staff, and a budget, and a performance review. What shows up on that performance review is really important. It's how much has gone through that lane this year. That's not corruption. I'm not alleging any. It's not corruption. It's arithmetic. You get what you measure, and we've decided to measure this. Why? Why don't we have that officer for Great Britain? We don't have it for Australia. We don't have it for Japan. We don't have it for Canada or any of the other Five Eyes. Why? It's the one thing the defenders of this section never actually answer. And you know why? Because they're spending their time knocking down the merger claim that AOC handed them for free. Let's say you hire the best contractor in the world. They're going to build your kitchen. Does beautiful work. When he's finished, he leaves. The kitchen's yours. Next year, you can hire somebody else. That's cooperation. Now, say instead you let him run his own plumbing through your walls in his fittings to his standards. The kitchen still works. It may even work even better. But you've just made a decision about every remodel you'll ever do in that house because now the walls have to be opened around his pipe. And the only man who stocks that fitting is him. That's what supply chain means in this fight. It's not about who you buy from. It's about what you can no longer stop buying.
What do you think of that? I have a bunch of people that say something completely different, that it takes our sovereignty away and all that kind of stuff. We're going to get into it right now. I have a couple clips here. We're going to play a couple of them together, I think. Let me look at the timestamps real quick, just to be clear. Yeah, let's listen to what Rex Jones has to say about it, and then we're going to listen to what Ron Paul has to say. I think these two are very spot on for what we're talking about here.
Because I got a bad news for you. It's going to get passed. Trump is going to sign that like the orange horny toad that he is. He's going to sit in there on his big rock with the heat lamp on. Netanyahu's going to turn the heat lamp on. And then Trump's going to croak and he's going to sign the document. Insider trading is so bad, it's insider government. That's what it's become. We've become a corporate captured entity here at home with our domestic military industrial complex and other industries, big pharma, big ag, you name it. And then now, like that is an evil husband. We're going to marry that to the evil bride of Israel, Izrul, right? We're going to do the NDAA in section 219. They changed it from 224. Section 612 merges CIA and Mossad, basically. Section 219 merges our military with Israel. They get an executive agent. They get a guy that's a Pete Hegseth equivalent, essentially a secondary Department of War, Department of Defense head, who's higher than everyone else at DOD. You can read the document for yourself. I'm not making this up. Higher than everyone else at DOD and does not answer to Congress, only answers to the executive branch and the president. Executive branch Hegseth, the DOW, and then Trump. They're to be in ascendancy in all elements of our military. And this is why this is the time. This is life and death, people. This is everything. This is the future. This is our future being flushed down the drain because Americans are apathetic and don't care enough about it. You got to be talking to 10 people a day about this because I got a bad news for you. It's going to get passed. Trump is going to sign that like the orange horny toad that he is. He's going to sit in there on his big rock with the heat lamp on. Netanyahu's going to turn the heat lamp on. And then Trump's going to croak and he's going to sign the document. So our military is about to be co-opted and taken over by essentially, it's like a hooker that we used to pay that we've now signed a reverse prenup with that now owns us and the House.
But this is a big vote because it's new and it's different. It's negative. It goes against our sovereignty. We can think up a lot of reasons why we shouldn't even be thinking about this. And it sort of destroys the whole notion of individual national sovereignty. So that's going to be a vote. A lot of people will be watching that vote today.
Yeah, and we don't usually endorse legislation, but or oppose it. But really, people should, as you say, Dr. Paul, connect with their representatives in the U.S. House and tell them to vote against the NDAA because we don't want this. We don't want to, as you say, we don't want to integrate our military with any other country. It should be to defend the United States. That's it. Full stop. So this is a really bad move. And I was going to put a clip, I forgot, but Thomas Massie, he did put in an amendment to try to get that language taken out. And our wonderful Democratic House of Representatives said, no way, you can't even have a vote. They wouldn't even allow them to have a recorded vote on whether to pull this language out. So it's stuck there in the bill. That bill should fail. Hopefully it does fail.
Unfortunately, the amendment to halt the merger of the U.S. and Israeli militaries together has failed. They have shoved this into the National Defense Act, and it will pass. This whole idea, which Netanyahu even says was his idea, this was his plan. This did not come from our Congress members. He actually put it forward. They said, okay, we'll do whatever you want, our dear leader Bibi, and they put it into this bill. The goal of this according to Netanyahu, is to end U.S. aid to Israel. Now, you might think, oh, that's a great thing. We do want to end U.S. aid to Israel. Right. The workaround is to no longer need aid from the United States military because you will just become the United States military. Netanyahu said, rather than being dependent on the U.S. military, we become partners. We become partners. We share everything. Here's the article from Responsible Statecraft saying Congress has refused to even allow a full House vote on a provision that would pave the way for an unprecedented integration of the U.S. and Israeli military industrial complexes. After no debate on Monday, the Rules Committee chose to reject a bipartisan amendment introduced by Reps Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey that would have stripped the United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative from the bill. This provision they wanted to squelch creates an executive agent within the Department of Defense whose sole responsibility is furthering U.S. and Israeli military tech integration across nearly every facet of the defense process. It even specifically says in this provision that we will source and look for as much Israeli tech to integrate into our military as possible. That is a bad idea. That's the worst thing I've ever heard of. So if you don't want that, call your congressman, call your senator, tell them you absolutely want them to oppose that bill unless they strike that from it, that you will not live in a nation that is beholden to another foreign nation. I was going to say something much more grotesque, but whatever. I mean, it's just so obvious. Israel is taken over. We're not a sovereign country anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could not say it that well. I mean, when you think about it, to have, first of all, we're the United States of America. Why would we co-opt or cooperate or anything with any other foreign anybody that's not American, period? It don't make sense. So Netanyahu came out the other day and he was talking before Lindsey, right when Lindsey Graham died. They made this big old, it was this viral clip about Netanyahu talking to Lindsey Graham about not needing U.S. money because they're standing on their own now and they don't need the bunch of billions of dollars, whatever it is, to be supported by the United States. They're, in the next 10 years, they're not going to need it. And it's because they've signed this bill. They've got this bill going through to where they'll just be partners. Now, I don't know. Don't sound right to me. So let's keep going. Stand by. I got two more clips here we're going to play. Let me look at this. Stand by.
Yesterday, I highlighted these guys, specifically Republicans who voted no on this Israeli-American military merger. But did you guys know this? I didn't.
Hey guys, I just want to follow up on a video that I put out explaining the NDAA vote that happened yesterday, explaining the two votes. Every time a bill passes the House floor, it has to cross two hurdles. The first vote is called the rule vote. The second vote is final passage vote. Now, that's super confusing and it's really stupid, but that's the way they do it. We had 7 total Republicans vote no on final passage to the NDAA because of Section 219 and other issues that they didn't like within the bill. We are thankful to them for voting no. However, that was a safe no vote, and let me explain that. There's 2 ways to vote no. There's the safe no vote, which is voting no on a bill when you know it's going to pass, so you don't have to make anybody mad, and you can still vote no because it's going to pass even without your vote. Then there's the courageous no vote, and that is voting no on the rule, the first vote for that bill to cross to final passage. When you vote no on the rule vote, you're voting no against everyone. You're voting no against leadership. You're voting no against the White House. You're taking a hard stand and saying, I am 100% against this bill. I do not want it to pass. There was only one Republican that took the courageous no vote on the rule vote. That was Thomas Massey. He voted no. The other Republicans only voted no on the second vote, the final passage vote, when they knew that the bill was going to pass. Okay? So there's a difference, and that's what you need to understand. There's the 2 votes. One is the rule vote. The second vote is final passage. And the most courageous vote any member of Congress can take is voting no on the rule. Here's the difference. The rule vote passed 213 to 212. 213 to 212. If those 6 other Republicans had voted no with Thomas Massey on the rule vote, the rule would have failed and the NDAA could not have moved forward to the second final passage vote. However, they voted yes on the rule, allowing it to move forward, and Thomas was the only one that voted no. But when it came to final passage, 6 decided to vote no then because it was safe. You want to know why? Because there were 6 Democrats that were voting yes. That's what you need to know. If you want to put your members of Congress into action, call them and start telling them to vote no on the rule. Don't let them make videos and wash their hands and say, I did everything I could. No, if they really want to stop something, vote no on the rule.
So I got a whole bunch of men trying to muscle me into voting for the NDAA. Section
names.
Who? I
Who are
don't know
these
their
men?
I don't know their freaking names. They're staffers.
They staff.
All right, listen to my story. If you want my story, I'm
Sorry,
gonna give it
sorry,
to you.
sorry.
All right. So all these staffers are in there trying to get me to vote for the NDAA. I want to vote for the NDAA. Section 219 is still in there. It's a big tech swap between us and Israel. We don't do that with anyone. I understand in the past, we've given them money for the Iron Dome, and then they get to keep the tech, and we don't get any of it back. So I understand that, but it's a big issue on the left and the right. And many of my constituents have reached out. They don't want this provision in the bill. Well, the White House doesn't want it in the bill. Secretary Hegseth doesn't want it in the bill. So I'm in the back waiting for a call from the secretary. I'm told that call is coming. I'm talking to someone underneath him, and I'm told the vote's going to stay open. They closed the vote. And so now I'm forced to talk to TMZ. Well, I do have an issue that we talked about off record. I don't want to be on camera this week, and I've been on camera more than any other week. I am talking out of the side of my mouth like a damn politician because my Botox hasn't caught up on this side. Maybe in 2 days, this side will catch up to the other side. But here we are.
Jesus. So she was one of the ones that did the safe vote, by the way. Just by the way. But, hey, my understanding is she's being primaried out, too, because she said something that Trump didn't like. So, it's just the way it goes. I don't know. This whole thing just makes no sense to me. It's like, why are we, I'm America first. I'm America only. We should not be giving money to foreign countries anyway. So now we're doing, sharing secrets and do all this bullshit, all this stuff. It just irritates my soul. It just does. It really does. It just sucks. So I want to ask you to please go to the description tonight and just look at in the description. Please go in there and look at the sponsors. We have a couple sponsors in there. Zeolite, gets rid of all the parasites in your body, fluoride, and all that kind of stuff. It's less than $1 a day. One vial is good for 2 months. Just check it out. If nothing else, get the Zeolite so you can, clean your body out, because the kind of chemicals that they're putting in the air and in the water and in all the food we eat, and it's just gross. It's just horrible. And the Zeolite's good stuff. It's money back guarantee. It's like 2 months supply for $58. It's a great deal. Go on there, click the link, and purchase some of that, please. We need your support, and we appreciate everybody that does do that. We appreciate your support. Where we at? Oh yeah, we want to do this. We'll talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk a little bit tonight. We're not going to go too deep. We're going to talk about the shooting. We are going to talk, before we do that, we're going to talk about Frank Turek a little bit, because he is a complete goofball. And before we do, we're going to do a little fun. Have a little bit of fun before we do. Stand by.
Once upon a time, a tax on tea was the final straw. Once upon a time, an entire country was built on one belief, a belief that freedom was more important than money. There was a point in history, sometime before our balls dropped off, where we all realized the system we built is no longer serving us. So we corrected it. There was a point in time where we spit on the freshly shined boots of anybody who dared to put his foot on our throat. Now it appears we all just sit there and take it like it's some guilty pleasure. There was a time where the system that they built to keep themselves in power still had enough loose ends that we could do something about it. There was a time where voting our way back to freedom still seemed like a real possibility. I'm here to tell you, Gotham, that time is over. Now it's time for revolution.
I don't see you trying to perform CPR because I'm too busy thinking or talking to someone else about something.
Now, maybe Brian was preoccupied thinking or talking to somebody else or whatever, because there was a lot of commotion, as you could imagine. He didn't see me trying for 20 or 30 seconds. It's not a contradiction. I mentioned CPR because I was the one trying it the last 20 or 30 seconds of the ride. We were giving him CPR, but nothing was happening. I mentioned CPR because I was the one trying it. We were giving him CPR, but nothing was happening. It's not a contradiction.
Frank's just praying out loud.
It's not a contradiction.
Was CPR being conducted during this time? No, because right now, I got to stop that bleeding. Yeah.
It's not a contradiction.
I don't see you trying to perform CPR because I'm too busy thinking or talking to someone else about something.
And we're yanking and banking our way there.
I had to do it. I just had to do it. So Frank Turk has really stuck his foot in his mouth a lot lately. I don't know what this is about. I don't know why he keeps coming out. And I guess he must have a podcast or something. And he keeps talking about how they, all the different things that happened. But yet, we're talking about 10 and a half months later, and he's talking about a new story that he didn't talk about in the beginning, but now he's talking about it. It's just crazy. Let's watch the actual clip of that from that little meme that we just played. Stand by.
Okay. And Brian is correct that most of the ride, we weren't doing any CPR. We couldn't do CPR. We're trying to stop the bleeding. So no CPR was done. It wasn't until the last, say, 30 seconds of the ride that I thought to myself, we got to be nearing like 8 or 9 minutes and he's not breathing and there's no heartbeat. I've got to at least try. It's probably going to be futile, but I got to at least try to start his heart and get some air in him. So I tried that for like 20 or 30 seconds at the very end of the ride when we're pulling into the hospital parking lot and we're yanking and banking our way there. Now, it turned out it was futile because he was still bleeding. You can't really do CPR when somebody's still bleeding. Of course, I didn't know any of this at the time. The only thing I'm thinking about is if there's any way he's going to make it, we've got to do something to get air in him. So I tried it for like 20 or 30 seconds, but his eyes were fixed.
And, but we had to start CPR anyway. So we did. I just started pounding on him.
And there was conversation in the car. Should we stop? We're like, no, just keep going. Just keep going. The doctor later said that was the right thing to do. Ambulance goes by us. We're still heading to the hospital, trying to get there. At one point, somebody says, let's get there in one piece because we're cutting through intersections. We're just beeping the horn. This is not an emergency vehicle. There's no lights. There's none of this. And I go, we got to start CPR. So I try and start that. Now,
I don't know. I just think they're fucking lying, dude. That's what I think. I think that they're just full of shit. That's what I think. I think that they are full of shit. And I'm sorry for those of you that are still sensitive to this 10 and a half months later, but it just sucks, dude. The whole thing none of it makes sense. Now I'm going to play a couple clips here. I'm going to play for context, I'm going to play 3 clips, but the first one is an older clip. The second one and the third one are newer clips. This one, you got to watch the third clip. It's about how Charlie was shot, where, and how. Okay. And, but before we do that, let's just for context, we're going to play this one. It's from the PDR podcast, where they were talking about the 30-06 and the all that stuff. I'm pretty sure it's a very relatively short clip. What is it? Oh no, I guess it's a longer clip. Shit. Let me see. We should play the other. Stand by. Let's play this clip.
But man, that's an exit wound from the front. That's my opinion based on the folks that I'm watching who are experts in these kind of forensics. And so the question is, how do you get that kind of a wound?
Vinny.
I'm with Tom 100%. They're claiming, this is the FBI and everybody, that it was the 30-06. It was not a 30-06. The official narrative is not official. And this guy is just another, and I get 100%, it looks like an earpiece, but from anybody that shot guns and knows about this type of thing, that if it was a 30-06, it would have been a completely, it would have been disgusting. It would have been a lot worse than what you guys saw, number one. Number two, all this footage, was camera phones sucked in and it's blurry. The main footage is the HD camera that was sitting behind Charlie shooting down, capturing him and the entire crowd. But somebody from Turning Point grabbed it, was all sneaky with it, put it in a hat and give it to another guy that ran off. And we're supposed to just take their word that this guy handed it off after he looked at it and gave it to the FBI. I'm sorry. I don't believe the official narrative.
You called the school. What
I
happened
called
when you
yesterday.
I
called, and Amanda was with me. She recorded it. I called UVU, and I called to the main desk, and I said, "Hey, I'm with such and such." I made up a thing, and I said, "I'm trying to find out if you guys, because the construction that's happening right now is unbelievable. It doesn't even look like what it is right now. Okay, doesn't make sense." I said, "Who do I talk to? You guys just had, and I apologize. You guys had the biggest assassination since JFK on your campus. Was there scheduled construction on the exact site where this happened? Can you comment on that?" He goes, let me direct you to the right place. Your conversations, you're typing, sends me to like maintenance or something like that. And it's a female that picks up. And I go, "Hey, I'm so-and-so with media." I go, "I'm just curious. Did you guys have construction set up?" Whispering, talking to I can't talk to you about that. I go, no, hold on one second. I don't need information about the shooting or nothing like that. Did you guys have scheduled maintenance? Because I would assume that if it's an assassination at this magnitude, you would leave the crime scene for potential bullets, potential fragments, other things to recreate in the scene. There's stuff in that ceiling, that overhead, Pat, that there's cameras, there's an opening that you could get in there. I'm like, how is this normal? Who made the decision? I can't say anything. Let me give you the information to our VP of Strategic and Communications Management. I called her 3 times. I don't want to say her name. I called 3 times. Nobody picked up, and I left the message. I'm just trying to figure out with this type of magnitude. And you know what's insane? For how many minutes after, not one police officer went there and secured the crime scene. I've watched multiple videos. I've watched aftermath of videos. I saw people coming and stealing hats off a truck and throwing them. Some guy's like, "What the hell are you doing?" There's no way this type of cover-up. And the fact that when you
That's a fact. You law enforcement should have shown up and taped the scene.
Why didn't they?
And you know what's crazy?
Just like Butler.
They were there, though. I don't know, but you know what's crazy, Pat? I saw a cop. One cop basically had his gun drawn while they were bringing Charlie, God rest his soul, to the vehicle. Your job, bro, is to go. This idiot, and by the way, Candace yesterday was talking about this guy, Pat. She knows him. She goes, "Never has this guy ever been around when we were on tour."
This who? Back up a second and say who we're talking about.
The guy with the camera that was taking the SD card out.
Stood on the chair.
Think about this, guys. It's a crime scene. You're moving the chair that he was shot. There's probably evidence in there if there was, God forbid, a bullet in there. He's climbing up there, moving everything, and nobody's saying anything. Common sense 101. You're touching the crime scene. That's the main event. That camera has everything. Okay. And I'm sorry. People are like, who do you trust? Get Israel, get all that out of there. The way that it was handled and the fact that his friends and everybody else have just moved on and they're worrying about Turning Point does not sit with me well, Pat. And I'm talking about my mom. I'm talking about people from all walks of life are like, something doesn't feel right. My mom, my aunt, my cousins, my friends. I'm having messages from people that I haven't talked to in years that are like, I know I watched the show and everything. They go, none of us feel like what we're being told is the truth. Not with Tyler, not with none of it is adding up. The boyfriends disappeared. Now they're trying to say that Tyler didn't even step foot on the campus
so let me
that
ask you
day.
this. What do you think is going to end up happening?
Just like every single time, PBD, they always get away with it. Evil on this sense, they get away with it. Because we're almost 3 weeks into it, and I know some of her points are a little out there. She's the only one. Nobody from their side is asking questions like this. If you were my friend, Pat, and I died, I would want you to be like, wait.
Yeah, and so there's a reason why I played that. This other one is a long clip. I'm going to play part of it. I just want to play the part where Matt Tario, Ranger is talking about how, bullets, they're basically saying that it's possible for a 30-06 to stop in a net. It's crazy. Anyway, we're going to play. I'm not going to play a lot of it. I'm just going to play enough of it to get the point. And then I want to play you the main thing that I want to show you is a side-by-side of Charlie being shot and where he was shot at and from. So stand by.
All right. Without further ado, I want to bring in a guy I'm just getting to know, and I'm really impressed by him. And he's a former Army Ranger sniper. He's an explosives expert. His name is Matt Tario. He is also the host of Speak the Truth podcast. So he goes into a lot of the detail we're about to go into now on his show. So please check it out. Matt, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So just as a starting point here, and then we're going to get into the meat of this, we're going to be talking about some of this evidence. And we're going to be talking about what Rob O'Neill has said publicly. He is a SEAL Team 6 that was involved in the shooting of Osama bin Laden. So, we have a lot of respect for his service to our country. We're not attacking that. But he's basically raising issues or questions he has about Charlie's assassination. As a starting point, establish your background, your CV. Why should we listen to you as an expert on these things?
So I did, I spent about 16 years in the military before I was medically retired. Started off my career in the infantry, was Ranger qualified, was a sniper section leader in the infantry, and then went to Special Forces selection and became a United States Army Green Beret. Got SF sniper qualified while I was there. Have roughly 4 years of combat in total underneath my belt, missions against Al-Qaeda, ISIS, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda in Iraq, things like that. Seeing places like East Africa, Middle East, and Ukraine before people even knew where it existed.
So you've got a pretty impressive resume there, and you understand ballistics, you understand explosives. So I'm going to play this clip. There's actually two clips because he's done it twice. Gone on Newsmax, and he said the following, SOT 14.
It's not like I'm out there saying big lie or a conspiracy or someone did it. I'm just saying this thing looked shady off the bat. I mean, I've killed people closer than I saw the camera, and I've never seen a shirt move like that. That looks like an explosion to me. I'm a SEAL Team 6 sniper. I'm asking a lot of questions. No one wants to answer them.
Okay, so that was a couple months ago. The clip gets dredged up on social media as if it was breaking news, but it was actually a couple months old. So he got asked about it again on Newsmax. This was just yesterday, SOT 15.
I don't think Charlie Kirk got shot the way they're saying. That's all. As a sniper with a bunch of kills up close, and Jack I don't do the research on this either, but Jack has 0. So let me be the man in the room for a second. It looked off. It seems like a cover-up. That's it. I'm not saying who did it. If their guy did it, as a sniper, someone with kills, I saw that happen. Wow, that looked off. I don't like rewatching it. I knew Charlie Kirk. Yeah. This isn't fun for me, but I'm not going to just see something and have a bunch of people with no experience really killing people tell me that I'm wrong. I'm not wrong.
Matt, is he wrong?
Yep, he's wrong. Yeah, and I understand where he's coming from when I first saw it as well.
So I want to just be clear about something real quick, because if all of you've seen the clips, they cut that clip so tight, they didn't play all the stuff that they were talking that he was talking about how the 30-06 shots and blah 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 blah, all the things that they cut it just with him saying that it didn't look right, and he didn't play all the meat of the of that interview, either one of those two interviews. I've seen them both. I just want to say that before we continue.
I had originally thought the shot ended up coming from behind. And then I immediately ended up withdrawing my statement within a couple hours based on everything that's coming out. I having experience in shooting people, that's not an excuse for saying that I haven't seen anybody's shirt come up like that. Most of the time, that's not exactly what you're paying attention to when you're in the middle of business. But yes, he is dead wrong in all of those statements that he's making. Minus that, it looks off, but once you understand terminal ballistics, you start to understand what actually ended up happening after that. And going through military sniper courses, you get a lot on internal and external ballistics. What the projectile is doing inside of the rifle once it leaves the rifle and it's flying through the air. But once it ends up going over and impacting your intended target, that's where things start to get a little bit of wonky. And there is not a lot of information that's out there on it, but there is also a lot of information out there if you know where to look. Specifically when it goes down to these types of rifle cartridges and what's ended up happens when they impact flesh.
So I would be clear that when there is such a thing as a 30-06 hitting a neck with no bone, which even if it hit bone, if it hit bone, it would tear out the head. His head would have came off of his shoulders, just to be clear. We've seen enough of the ballistic gels and all these different things, shooting pigs and this and that and all these things to know that that is not a true statement.
Matt, let's dive into that because a lot of the weird theories, they've kind of taken two, I'd say the core strands, people essentially claiming the bullet, the 30-06 round would not be capable, it would have to leave an exit wound. And so therefore the wound that killed Charlie could not come from that. And then also people, again, they're fixating on t-shirts and how
Exploding
it moves
mics
to suggest, exploding microphones would do this. So I guess that's what your post on X that we saw dove into. Can you dissect some of the science, the unfortunate grisly science here of why we can be confident that it was a bullet acting the way a bullet would that caused this all to happen?
Yeah, so we can go ahead and we can get rid of the exploding microphone theory right off the bat. That got revived by a man goes by the name of John Bray. Thoroughly debunked him. People are welcome to go over to my X profile and take a look at the work. At the end of the day, even half a gram of petin, the amount of petin that's in there in a shaped charge, explosives work equally, right? They're basically omnidirectional when they end up going off, and that little half gram of petin ends up exploding into a gaseous space of about 400 cubic inches instantaneously at over 8,000 meters a second. That means that little plastic microphone underneath the shirt would have instantly been gone long before anything ended up reaching his neck. It had blown a hole in his shirt, easily the size of that microphone, and there'd be clear signs of some damage to his tissue. So that within itself didn't happen. All right, we can just start off there. A shaped charge is not a magical charge. It's been around since the late 1800s. All right, and it's been studied ever since. All right, it's used in RPGs. It's used in lots of different things in the defense industry. If there was a way to focus all the explosive energy into a single jet that doesn't have any sort of opposite and equal reaction, right? Newton's laws of physics that we're talking about here. Please let me know, and also allow the people in the fields of physics to know that as well, because you are introducing a fourth dimension. So and when we start talking about the actual projectile itself, okay, the one that we believe he used, it hasn't came out wholly in the court of law yet, so this is speculation, but it's well-based speculation based on the photographs that ended up getting shared in his pre-trial. Those most certainly appear to be Remington 150 grain core lock ammunition. That particular projectile for the 30-06 has been around since the late 1930s. All right. It doesn't use modern day bonding techniques. It's got a soft lead point and it's got a thin copper jacket that wraps around it. And the reason you have to have that thin copper jacket is because that lead would basically be disintegrated if you were just, shooting it out the barrel at the velocities that we shoot these things at. That thin copper jacket also helps create a seal. And it's actually, if you were to take that projectile and measure it, it's actually slightly larger than the bore of the barrel. So it gets squeezed down that barrel and it slightly deforms it. And as it's being squeezed down that barrel and it slightly deforms it, you have an issue that goes into the actual overall balance of the projectile itself. These elongated projectiles are very front heavy as opposed to back heavy. And no matter how much we'd like to, we can't perfectly balance these things out. So with the improper balance, along with it being squeezed out the barrel, you end up getting what's called yaw that happens when this projectile is flying through the air. That yaw causes it not to spin in a tight spiral like a football, but kind of to slightly wobble at the nose. And depending on where that wobbles out, when it ends up impacting the target, that creates, different effects in terminal ballistics. Now, this projectile itself is designed to essentially mushroom out, is the term people like to, bring up. It's designed to mushroom out. It's soft point. And the reason they do that is so that they expand and it creates more drag. Soldiers whine a lot about the 5.56, the green tip, the, armor penetrating rounds that we have. That were standard for the military for a very long time, just zipping right through guys. I've shot people with them and just watched them fall down and get right back up. The reason is because you're just punching holes in them, right? It's essentially taking an ice pick and going in. There's no energy transfer. So the reason you have these is because that they create much more energy transfer by opening up and biting into more meat. That projectile itself that we just saw those pictures of, that's up on the screen, ends up opening up the moment it comes into contact.
Back up, please.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Bring that up. There we go. So here we can see that copper jacket that is opened up. Now, with the study that was done back in the 1960s of over 5,000 casualties from World War II and from Korea, they ended up determining that yaw ends up being the most distinguishing factor in terminal ballistics overall. And within just 3 inches, all right, within just 3 inches of flesh, and this is using full metal jacket rounds, not ones that mushroom out and create more drag, within just 3 inches of flesh, it can actually tumble up to 90 degrees. So you have that very thin copper jacket as it's mushrooming out, and then it's just going to rip apart. And we're also talking about lead here. Lead is a very soft metal in general. When it's just room temperature, it's soft. You can pick away at it with your thumbnail. When you shoot that thing down a barrel, it starts superheating it from the friction of the barrel. And as it's flying through the air, all of the friction from the air also gets that round really nice and warm. It gets really hot. Once things start to heat up, they start to become a little bit more malleable, particularly lead and brass and copper. So when that stuff ends up...
That's enough of that, because the reason I wanted you to hear that, he's saying that a bullet, when it heats up, it basically falls apart. When 30-06 was designed to destroy things, they use it for hunting and all that stuff. And a 30-06 bullet, there's no way that it went in and stopped and went down and did all the stuff that they said. But I'm going to show you why I feel that way, or why I believe that, because one of the things that has been brought to my attention is that Charlie Kirk was shot from behind. And I've shown this a couple times, but now Ty has put out a side-by-side shot so you can see how it happened, the way it happened, and he breaks it down in less than 5 minutes. So I figured I would show you that, and I'll do it right now.
Charlie Kirk assassination in 5 minutes or less. I want you to see the 3 points of contact from this high-speed laser that they use, this infrared beam, and show you how it hit basically the back of Charlie Kirk's head and took him up out of here. Look at what we see, a little bit lighter on this one. Boom, that's exactly where it hit. And then you'll see the shirt popped back right there. So it lets you know that there's some activity that's happening to the body. And this is downward neck cavitation. So the round came down like that and came out the front part of his neck. The shirt popped back right here. So when you see everybody showing that graphic of his shirt pop back, absolutely, because it's the downward neck cavitation from the pressurization to the body. It's that simple to understand. You can even kind of see it a little bit right there. See that right there? That's the shot actually entering, or where the shot actually entered into Charlie, right there, causing this effect to the shirt. It's a poofing up at the shirt, poofing up of the shirt at the top. So here I put them kind of side by side so you can see it a little bit better. The 3 points of contact. Once it actually, this infrared beam was going by. This is high speed technology that we're looking at. Okay, it's very, very high speed technology and very high tech technology. So it's the cream of the crop, as they would say. And that's exactly how Charlie Kirk was taken out of here. If there was no infrared technology that was used to kill Charlie Kirk, then this wouldn't be on the back of Charlie Kirk's head. By the time that this beam hit the back of his head, this shirt popped out right here. Charlie Kirk was technically already dead. A lot of people didn't know that. Like this was an instant death kind of thing. This is the angle that they hit him from right here. The tent was raised that day. Charlie set up on a platform so that the shot could be actually possible because he was on the platform, and the tent was raised around him so that there would be enough clearing for the head and neck space to be seen. And here goes another video, just real quick, showing you what it looks like when a palm pistol is fired. Look at that right between his fingers. Do it again just to show you. Look at this. Boom. Very subtle. Quick frame. See that? Just a little frame. but this is what you expect to see when a small pinfire pistol is being fired, okay? And this is the reaction of the girl that was standing right next to him. Boom. She's looking down at her phone. She doesn't know anything about anything. She looks right up at Rick Cutler. She looks in the sky, okay? And then she looks at Charlie Kirk. So this is very, very telling of, and this is the damage that was actually done afterwards, is the pinfire palm pistol hit Charlie while his shirt was poofed up from the first shot, and it exited out of his back. You see the pressurization of the hole, and it went right through Charlie. About a 2mm sized round, basically a BB with gunpowder attached to it. Pinfire palm pistol, very, very, very small weapon, a very small weapon. So I cover a lot of this stuff on Charlie Kirk Operation 322 in my investigation. I'm doing a part 6 right now. So it's a 5-part series. It's 8 hours long. I would just, advise for you to at least watch parts 4 and 5. But you're going to find out a lot of information about the esoteric connections around Charlie Kirk and what he was involved in, the fact that he was a government employee, his contract with TikTok and Chinese, and it's his security clearance. And there's so much that people don't talk about, and I actually do talk about in my series, and I show you Israel's bird of prey drone. It can even be seen leaving the site after the shot. So go watch my information and you can see all of this. This is information they don't want to tell you about. I'm the scariest guy out there when it comes to this stuff, because nobody wants to deal with it because it's truth, right? This is stuff that is really hard to swallow, because it means everything that they told you is a lie. And it is. Every single thing that they told you was a lie. This is reality right here, what you see happening in front of you right now. Look at that. That shirt moves right there, and you can see that indentation right there, the initial indentation in the head. It's right here. It's literally right here. You don't have to look far for it. Shirt moves. There's the infrared beam on the back of the head. Okay? And then there you go. High-tech infrared beam there. But when you really want the answer, she tells you everything you need to know. When she looked up from that cell phone and looked at Rick Cutler and then looked up in the sky and then looked at Charlie Kirk, that's everything that you needed to know. That is everything that you needed to know. All right? So with that being said, until the next time, guys, stay alert, stay alive. Here's the truth.
Yeah, and you can find him on We Are Not Going to Mars on YouTube and on X. We're Not Going to Mars. Ty Norman, he does great work. But this is where it's at, and they don't want you to know this. And part of what Matt was talking about exploding mic theory. I don't know that there wasn't an exploding mic, or there was, or whatever. I know they found a bunch of little pieces of plastic disintegrated in the car, or in the SUV, in the floor of the SUV. I don't know. I don't have any idea what that's from, or if it was from the shot that hit him in the chest and it went through the microphone. I don't know. Maybe there was a shape charge also. This was a operation. It wasn't a patsy on the roof taking a shot at Charlie and got a lucky shot off. It wasn't that at all. As a matter of fact, this was a coordinated hit. Okay, coordinated. Charlie was involved with the military. He had a special clearance for the military. By the way, since Charlie's been assassinated, they've now made Erica that person with that clearance at that military installation, which is weird, very weird how that happened. But a lot of things about this whole thing that's happened from Butler to Charlie Kirk's assassination doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't. It just doesn't cut the mustard, we'll say. And we're gonna keep doing this investigation on this, and we're just gonna keep following it where it goes. And this guy Norman's doing part 6. I've watched the whole. It's 8 hours. I mean, I didn't watch it all at once, but I would go in, watch some of it, pull some clips, show you the clips, and then go back to it. And I've gotten through the first 5 parts. It really didn't get good though, really, until he got to part 5, because in part 5 he starts showing, because he had a different theory at first, but he shows the drones. There was multiple drones on the UVU campus that day. There was only one Israel what's it called? Bird of whatever it's called, drone, and that has a it has a rifle on it, right? So, and it's all infrared. So it's all done by computer. It's not manned by a. It's all programmed. It's like somebody on the ground is like, this is the coordinates to where the shot needs to go, and that's how it works. It has nothing to do with like joysticks and all that stuff. It's a program where they program the shot and they take the shot. And this is the theory, my theory, and I haven't heard anybody else say this. And there may be other people out there that have done this, but if you go back to the beginning, and Candace was talking about the planes that flew low. There was a plane that came from Texas, and it came in and it flew low under 200 feet, dropped down, and then went back up and just kept right on going. I believe that that's when they released that drone. And then, interestingly enough, at 20 minutes after Charlie Kirk was killed, that same plane coming from the opposite direction went down under 200 feet for just a second. I believe that they were able to retrieve that drone after, and off it went, gone. That's my theory. And there's a lot of theories out there, and this one seems like the most accurate one as far as I can tell. For when you think about exploding pagers and all these different things, I mean, this one seems like, and we know that Israel is, which is why the 219 is so important that we don't pass that, because of how the Mossad and all that stuff and Epstein and all that shit goes together. I believe that it's all connected. I believe that Epstein's connected to this whole thing. Charlie and Erica and Trump and all these different things all go together. That's my theory. And allegedly, that's the theory that I have. Anyway, there'll be more on this later. We're going to just keep plugging away. Now, let's see here. Let me get this. If you don't know, I'm on, you can find our show on X. You can also find it on Rumble and Getter. And we're also on YouTube. We have a new channel we started about a few months ago on YouTube, Inspector Web. It's all just Inspector Web. We had another one before, and during the 2020 debacle, they took it from us. When I had my original co-host, and they didn't like what I was saying. We're pretty much shadow banned on most platforms. X, it seems like I've been getting more traction on X lately. I don't know if they've released the shadow band off of me or not, because when I first started the show, we had thousands and thousands. I mean, we're not in the millions, but we were getting thousands of people watching the show every week. Every week, I was doing 2 or 3 shows a week, and then it dropped down significantly. And when I was talking to IT, they were like, "Yeah, that's because you're shadow banned, and that's what they do. If you say something they don't like, you say the wrong words or whatever it is, then they just kind of cripple you so you don't get no traction." And that's kind of where we're at. So if you can go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. Or any of the other ones, Rumble, Getter, that'd be great. Unfortunately, Getter is the one that gets the most traction. We're getting lots of views on Getter, which is weird because it's the smaller platform. But it's just weird that they don't. I guess they don't do the whole shadow banning thing, or they're not owned by some foreign lobby. I guess I don't know. Anyway, subscribe to the channel. Please share this information everywhere. It's open source, so you're welcome to anything. You don't have to send me an email and ask for permission. Anything on here, you're welcome to. All I ask is that you put me in the description so people can, in the tag me so people can find me. That's all I ask for. Let's get into the sleeper cells in California. We heard months ago that there was some potential sleeper cells. First, we heard drones that were, these missing drones were found in California and all this stuff, and then that got debunked pretty well. And then we've heard about sleeper cells for the last few years, 3 or 4 years of Iranian sleeper cells and all that stuff. And then now that we have this Iran war that's heating up, and they're literally threatening us right now, not like they were before. They're really talking about a full-on attack. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but the sleeper cells have been reintroduced, and they're talking about it. They're talking about drone attacks and sleeper cells in California, of all places. And I don't know why that is, but I just know that when I get the information, I just cover it. I just cover whatever the information is. And so I'm gonna show you the sleeper cells. I got two. I condensed it because it's all these articles and all this stuff, and I just wanted to give you the nuts and bolts of it, and not all the extra stuff. So this is Steve Ram on YouTube. He does a pretty good job of breaking down articles and sharing, each article and stuff like that in his description, so you can verify the stuff that he's talking about. So that's why I use Steve Ram, because when he shows us something, he uses articles and basically he vets his own stuff before he puts it out, and I like that. So that's why I use this guy's information. I don't have a big crew here. It's just me. So I don't have the time to do extensive research. And I was talking about this a week or two ago. I'll focus on something and I just get stuck digging into one thing. And then, I have to have a timer. I can only work on something for so long, because I'll spend 6 hours on one thing, go, oh shit. And then realize that I have other things that I wanted to cover. And so it's good to have somebody that vets his own stuff and I can verify it. That's pretty awesome, actually. So anyway, stand by. Let me play one or two videos here. We're gonna play them both. Hold on. Sleeper cells in California.
Last 48 hours, we have received a new warning, and again, California is on high alert. So let me put this on the screen for those of you coming in a little bit late. And if you haven't done so yet, please hit that thumbs up like button. And if this is your first time here and you want to stay up to date, it's totally free. Hit the subscribe button. Take a look here, coming out July 20th. In the last 48 hours, sleeper agents, they are poised to wage war in California, putting the United States on high alert. A map has been released of top targets. This has emerged. So you guys, you're in California, be on high alert. If you're anywhere in the United States right now, be on high alert. In fact, also, we heard there is a worldwide global travel alert that has been initiated as well. They're saying if you have to do any international travel at this time and you are an American citizen, please reconsider. If you don't have to go, don't, because right now Americans are being targeted around the world with the conflict that is currently going on. And as you can see, they actually want to bring it to our homeland. And we saw the IRGC hardliners say, on U.S. soil, we want to shed American blood. This is the path that we need to take to avenge the death of the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. So a lot of warnings being issued out. This coming in just the last 48 hours. And I shared with you that map with all the different cities and locations where they said, you need to be on extreme alert right now, critical priority, because these are some of the areas that are being targeted. And again, they asked in that interview, why California? Why these cities? To which he said, we don't know. We just know that they're saying they know something's going on behind the scenes, and they're saying to be on alert. So as
Oops, it didn't go. Hold on a second. Sorry.
it's the threat of sleeper cells, it's the threat of cyber attacks, and it's the threat of all of these coordinated together simultaneously. They're saying orchestrated within a 24-hour period, domino effects happening. So imagine, if you will, if this was initiated, bombs going off in LA, San Diego, Sacramento, San Francisco simultaneously. You try to look at your phone to get the latest news, your phone is suddenly shut off. Communications go down. Water goes out, lights go out, ports are suddenly unable to coordinate ships coming in and out, and everything shuts down simultaneously. This is the concern, and it's not just Iran, or Cuba, but all of them working together. Meanwhile, drones come in with massive payloads and start bombing military sites. They're saying this is the concern. Simultaneously orchestrated all together at once with various different nations, adversaries of the United States, in a coordinated attack. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I saw somebody saying that's
Yeah, and so that got cut short. That's okay though. Yeah, so we talked about this a lot, and this is a good opportunity for me to talk about restorable food. It's I guess I'm going to do a little plug right now. If you don't have backup, restorable food, a water filter, all those essentials for if the grid does go down, do you have 6 months of food? We have a couple freezers full of food that we don't touch. It's just put away, and we're running off. You know, we have a solar battery backup and generator, and so we're good. But are you prepared? And I never realized this until I started doing this research back a few years ago when this first started coming about. I was like, what am I going to do about my kids? I mean, my wife and my kids, if something happens, my community, like, what are we going to do? And so there's a bunch of us behind me is a bunch of team staffs and stuff. I belong to an organization that we believe in, making sure that our communities are taken care of well. And, and so we do these things where we talk about what do you do in the event of an emergency? What do you do if you have to, bug out? Are you prepared? Do you have what you need? Are you going to be able to get your essentials that you need in your truck or your trailer or your whatever and get to high ground if you need to? Are you prepared for that? And so it's a great, we have I think we have 6 months worth of food, restorable food, so it doesn't take. I don't need to have to cook it and all that stuff. And we have a Alexa Pro water filter, which are relatively inexpensive. So they're gravity fed. You just pour water in it. You can put muddy water, pool water, whatever, and it filters out the garbage. And then, you have water, because if you don't have water after a few days, you're kind of screwed. If you don't have food, and when people in the community don't have what they need, then they start coming for yours. So you got to be prepared. You just need to be prepared. I don't know what's going to happen. This stuff scares the shit out of me. I've sat my whole house down, and we've had a conversation about what happens if it happens. What are we going to do? How can we be prepared? And all those things. And it's just good to be prepared in the event of an emergency. So just want to say that. And, I'm not uh, fear porning you. I'm just giving you the details with what's going on right now with Iran. And now Russia is talking about helping Iran, and China is involved, and all this stuff is going on. And, if, there's talk about if you bomb, because, they're talking about nukes, by the way. I don't know if you know this or not. They're talking about nuking Iran now, because if you just nuke Iran, then they'll go away and we won't have no problem. But Pakistan said that if you nuke Iran, we're going to nuke Israel. So it just starts the World War III thing, and then we'll all be just fried. So we won't need restorable food, right? I mean, we'll just be going to meet our creator at that point. So, but while we have a chance to do something about it, we need to do something about it. Now, let's get into this. Excuse me for a second here. I always wonder why after I do a show about stuff like this, I can't sleep. I have no idea whatsoever why I can't sleep after something like this. So let's get into this. So Michael Yon was on InfoWars, or excuse me, Alex Jones show, and he broke down a bunch of different topics over a couple hours. And so what I did is I pulled out some nuts and bolts from different segments of this so that we could go over it and see what it looks like. What would you do if there's famine? How would you what would you do? Like, if you're not in the United States, which United States probably has more resources than, you know, Zimbabwe or whatever, right? Like, their third world countries are just going to be devastated with the Strait of Hormuz being closed and all that stuff. I mean, food's already be scarce over there, and it's just going to get worse. For us, it might not happen right away, but by this time next year, with no for fertilizer, we don't know what's going to happen if we're going to even be able to get food. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, they tried to take our cows away from us a few years ago. They said that because cows fart, we got to get rid of them. They depopulated all the chickens. They killed thousands of chickens. They said they had bird flu. Remember all that? That's part of the plan, by the way. I mean, it just is. And so Michael Young was talking about we're in a fight for our life right now. And if we're not paying attention, we're going to get caught up in it. So let's just get into some of this right now. Stand by.
We're Americans. And, actually, people watch your show all over the world. Some of us are Americans, but all of us are in a fight for our lives. But everybody watching this, all of our families have been through wars. There's no exception. Everybody watching this, their family's been through war. If you're watching this, your family's been through famine. Your family has been through pandemic.
That's what our ancestors already hacked it. We can do it.
We are the descendants of very tough people, or we wouldn't even be sitting here. Everybody, there's no exception to that. So it's our turn. That's it.
You just got to activate that dormant instinct.
That's right. This is it. I mean, this is otherwise we're going to watch our countries fall apart, and they're going to melt into oblivion and be forgotten. That's what'll happen.
Going, what's the next shoe to drop? What's going to happen with no off ramp? Trump's like, 19 years. Vietnam War was really 11, as you know. But I mean, this is just and even Bill O'Reilly's like saying you got to take a rest. Laura Ingram's saying, man, you're destroying us, and Trump is just destroying himself, destroying America. I mean, you can say he was bad before. I get that, but he is like really gone to seed.
I think when he's gone, it'll continue. Because any minute now he may keel over or whatever. And but in any case, when he's gone, I think it'll continue. That's my view, because I'm looking at the larger energy in the system. And in that larger energy in the system, that's why he's even there, right? He's not there because he won organically. He's there because he's part of that system, right? That's it. Just like Obama was, just like Bush was, just like the Clintons.
So who's winning this global war between the BRICS and the Chi-Coms and the Anglo-American Zionist British Empire system?
Ultimately, fascism, actually. Ultimately, that's it.
Exactly. AI, tyranny in general, they're all adopting it. It's just bad for people.
Yeah, ultimately, fascism. I mean, as government.
So the devil's winning.
Right. Ultimately, like, for instance, when we were just up at the Danish Strait in Denmark, the Danish Strait is one of the top, one of the main chokeholds in the world, right? It's very important. So Masako and I were up there. There's a United Nations headquarters right on the Danish Strait, right there. And in Copenhagen, right? It's amazing. It's huge. It's like it's bigger than the headquarters in Panama, right beside the Panama Canal, UN, right? And so the Danish Strait, Maersk, huge shipping company, right? Massive shipping company, which is going for, obviously, they're part of Panama, right? A lot of, China owns Costco, their shipping company, right? Or a shipping company. But Maersk basically owns, Denmark. I mean, it's already a fascist country, right? I would not be surprised at some point to see somebody attack Denmark and go for Maersk and all of their ships, actually. That's one of the reasons I've never seen anybody say this or write it or speak it out loud like I just did. But I think at some point, somebody's going to go for the company of Maersk and all of their ships. As you know, in the old days, people would go beat somebody up and take all of their ships, take all of their ports.
Well, that's why the Dutch had the night watch, because pirates coming in. So expanding on that, let's move to Russia and the Ukraine thing. Russia says the red lines crossed are going to hit NATO bases, massing weapons because NATO's hitting Russia. Do you think the Russians will make good on that? And what do you think NATO does if they do?
I think that they probably will. And that's why Masako and I were recently up in Hamburg, because Hamburg is the third biggest port in Germany or in Europe.
So your predictions rarely don't come true. You think Russia will start hitting NATO countries soon?
I think so. I think so.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
What time frame and what happens after that?
I don't know, because wars have this way of getting out of control really quick. It's already out of control. This what's happening now is a function of an out of control war, because wars do certain things very predictably. The Nostradamus of war. If you
they do predictably is grow once you start them.
There you go. Then if you want to sound like Nostradamus and war prediction, just say, I think this war is going to grow, right? And it does magically because that's what fires and wars do. And I think this war is going to grow unpredictably, and they do because that's what they do. It's going to last longer than anybody expected, right? They generally last longer than anybody expected, and the outcome is often different than anybody expected, right? So, I mean, right now we're in the stage of a wildfire, right? And there's a huge fuel load, and the winds come and go, the weather changes. I mean, which way is the fire going to go? You could have fought fires for 40 years, and you're like, I don't know. When
Which it goes back to mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
The smart move would have not done this, but now it's been kicked off.
It's game on. So, I mean, there's the war has, once you reach this stage of a war, it's like a beast being born. It has its own life.
That's what Nixon famously said when he was at the Lincoln Memorial, and in his actual video that's in the movie Nixon. And he's like, I want to stop the war, but he goes, there's all these enemies. He goes, you can't stop it. He goes, no, it's a wild animal.
Okay, Bob, we're just wrapping, my friends and I. In fact, we agree on a lot.
Yeah, so if you don't know who Michael Yon is, he's a war correspondent, and he goes to all these different countries and he talks to these people, and he's in good with all these different cultures, and he spends a lot of time in Panama and different places. He got kicked out of China. You heard him talk about that earlier. And but what he does is unfortunately, when he says something, it usually happens. I've watched him for years, and when he predicts, or you want to call it predicting, it's really reading their writings. It's just like what Alex does. It's not like he's predicting something. It's like he is actually reads their white papers and gets the information and reports the information. And that's what Michael Yon's doing. And he's letting you know right now, shit's getting ready to get funky. You know what I mean? And, if Russia makes good on their promise to attack NATO, that's when that's when that whole thing is going to crack big. You know what I mean? Because just like when they shot those missiles and hit what was it, a tanker or something, and blamed it on Russia, and then they found out, or no, I remember what it was. It was the pipeline, Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and they blamed it on Russia, and it was U.S. that did it, or NATO that did it. And then when they found out, they just as part of the war, right? So now NATO has been attacking Russia, and basically Putin's like, we're going to attack you guys. You keep it up. And they've had a lot of restraint, but they're talking about going to full war now. So that's not good. You know what I mean? Because you remember who the allies are, right? It's allies are North Korea. Let's see, it's North Korea, Iran, China, and all those other little tiny countries all around there, right? They're all going to jump in with this. It's just World War III. If this kicks off, that's it. You know what I mean? So this is the part about, let me play this little clip. It's only a couple minutes long, but he's talking about the Chi-Coms and that whole thing, because we don't talk about the real threat enough. We used to, but it seems like it's gotten lost in the sauce because everything's about Iran right now and a little bit about Russia, but nobody's talking about China, who is the major threat. And you listen to some people and they tell you China's not a threat and and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, they're the major threat, and they're the ones funding most of this war with Iran right now. So stand by.
But the great game is on. It's wildly on. And the two main oligarchical systems out of all the Godzillas and Mothras fighting out there are the Zionists and the Chinese, right? That's clear. And the Chinese have the advantage of numbers. The Zionists have the advantage of position, right? They're positioned well in the United States government. They've taken over us like a fungus, like those ants take the fungus.
And I want you to take your time on this because I see this on X and Rumble and everywhere. A big minority of the listeners only care about Israel. It's all they understand. It's all they know. So we're pattern recognition. They think if I ever talk about China being a threat, they think I'm taking away from Israel. They don't understand that the globalists are double dealing BlackRock with China, Bill Gates with China. Israel's selling them our secrets, but Israel's not with the Chinese. They've got the people in position. They've got AIPAC. They've got the corporate positions. But when Trump comes out and criticizes China election fraud, NBC and ABC, they don't run it because at the same time, their main enemy is still keeping the American people in the dark, controlling us. So you're a world traveler, you're highly respected, combat, everything. You've lived over in Asia for a long time. Explain to them that you can have multiple predatory power structures and that you can be concerned about each one and it doesn't take away from the others. Why don't you spend some time, I agree, on the two, because the Zionist model has people in the EU, the US, Canada, New Zealand, other parts, corporations, double dealing with China. When it comes to people in key positions, they're the key. They have the money through the central banking. The Chinese have the rare earth minerals, the most people. They're spread out, and they've also infiltrated the West with their spies. But who would you say is superior in a position of power right now?
It's actually difficult to say because you know how fights get. Fights take twists and turns that are unexpected. They both have huge advantages and huge vulnerabilities.
All right. Yeah. So lost my cursor. Yeah. So, I mean, what do? I mean, I know this is all over in other countries, but we end up we get the brunt of all of it. Just like when COVID happened, it happened somewhere else, then it migrated over here, and then next thing you know, there were welding people in their houses in China, and then over here they're telling us that 2 weeks to to stop the curve, whatever the fuck it was, that all that bullshit. And so it's the same thing. Once it starts, it'll be here. And Iran is talking about it right now. We're going to play this clip in a minute. Iran is talking about hitting targets in the United States, not hitting targets in Israel. They're talking about hitting targets in the United States with drones. They're talking about it. So, yeah. So let's just listen to what Michael Yon has to say about this, and then we'll close out the segment. I think that's the last one.
And what you're going to see is places like the Turkish Strait. You're going to see Turkey in war, right? You're going to see Israel go for Egypt. They're going to try to take control of, obviously, this.
And you said that a few years ago, and they said you were anti-Semitic crazy. Israel, including now officially says next target Turkey and Egypt. I mean, this is wild.
Right. I mean, it's been obvious the whole time that they're going to go for. That's why Israel exists. Israel even exists so that we can. The British, as you know, not to go into this long history.
Rothschild set it up,
right? And so, like for instance, when we made Panama in 1903, we created Panama, a piece of Colombia, so we could make the canal. Right? There's many countries like that. Those 1922 synthetics is what I call the Gulf states, the Persian Gulf states, like Kuwait. Percy Cox drew all those maps
set up after World War I. Yeah,
right. He drew those maps and put the
and drew them. They said to create division. That they drew them unnaturally with groups that would hate each other.
That's right. And when you're down there on the ground, they're like, "Hey, you drew the border right between our tribe." And they did that all over the place. Like for instance, in Afghanistan, between Pakistan, everywhere. Right. That's the normal game. So those countries are all synthetic. And as you know, if you want, the greater Israel includes taking most of those countries. It includes taking Jordan. It includes taking most of Syria. It includes getting rid of the people in Lebanon.
And Israel's gone from denying it to saying, yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah, they're going to take out their desalinization plants, I think. They're already going for the Kuwaiti desalinization.
Well, that's the thing. They knew Iran would do this, so they've put Iran in the position to do their dirty work. And I have Ben-Gvir and Smotrich on TV. I'm not going to play it again. I played it like 5 times the last few days, both admitting it. So why are they admitting it suddenly?
I think about that often, and you've talked about it many times. I think it's just straight up arrogance, and they want to show how. I think it's that base, actually. It's just that they're primitive in their minds. They're sophisticated when it comes to sabotage and that sort of thing, and causing arson basically is what they're doing. But they're actually quite primitive. You notice when they kill people, they celebrate. They jump up and down like they won a football game, right? I mean, they're actually quite savage. Smotrich he's utterly savage. And, Gvir
beats up aid workers on TV. And he was on TV. He goes, went and showed a gas chamber, literally for gassing people, an execution chamber. And he said, we're going to kill all of our enemies in here. I'm going to kill you. And he looks like he couldn't find his ass with both hands. That makes it even sicker. And then he's running around cheering, saying, we're taking all of Gaza. We killed them. We killed them. And then he says, I'm going to kill, we're going to burn all of Lebanon, and dances in Hebrew going, kill, kill, kill on TV. I mean, villains in movies don't dance around saying kill, kill, kill. This is insanity.
Right. And it's actually authentic, because I've spent a lot of time with Israelis and, in India and Nepal and Thailand. And again, let me go back to Thailand. The places that a lot of the Israelis are squirting out to in Israel 2.0, or sometimes they call it Noah's Ark 2.0. They have different names for it.
Argentina.
Plan B. Yeah. Argentina, right? The places that they're going are strategic. For instance, those 3 islands I mentioned in Thailand, Koh Samui, Koh Tao, and Koh Phangan. I spent more than 3 months there, right? Those islands, they're not strategic at the moment, but in the future, when you build a canal or a crossway across the isthmus between the Gulf of Thailand and the Andaman Sea, it's going to be strategic. That's a bypass from Strait of Malacca. I first went to look at that and give it a good look in 2014.
Sure. Why are they obsessed with? I heard you just a couple years ago say this. I didn't roll my eyes. I was like, come on. They've gone to Mali in Argentina, and they send for decades all of their graduates of the military are supposed to spend like 6 months there, and they go hike there. They caught them drawing maps, setting fires, saying it's all going to be ours. And then now Israel says no. The new Israel will be Argentina, and we're gonna take that. They're now saying that Ukraine will be an Israeli base.
Right. Now, keep in mind, Melee down in Argentina, Masako and I went down there and looked, actually, and they're hitting them with the cannabis weapon now, right? We went to an expo where the Ministry of Defense and all these guys were sponsors. It was amazing. And so, I mean, that told me right there, they're coming to dumb them down, right? But that told us one thing. But Melee down there, his name, as you know, is Meliakovsky, right? That's his real name.
Same family as Netanyahu.
That's right. Meliakovsky. They changed their name in the 1920s.
Again, folks, I'm not bashing Israel to bash it. Now they are literally megalomaniac, announcing they're taking over Congress, the military, rule everything. The whole world's theirs. Ha, ha, ha. America's doing our dirty work. Ha, ha, ha. It's just bizarre.
It's right out of the movies. I mean, straight up. I mean, it's straight up evil incarnate. It's the Epstein class evil. Iran's not the one that pushed the death jab on the world. Let's be realistic about this. They're not the ones that are causing all these fights. They're just not. The Strait of Hormuz has been open the whole time. And now suddenly the Strait of Hormuz is closed, just as I predicted in writing last year. It's easy.
Rubio said again 2 days ago, we've got to keep the war going till the strait's open. Well, we're the ones that got it closed by attacking.
Right. Like you said years ago, a lot of this stuff, it feels like cheating to predict it. You just pay attention to what they say, right? You just read what they write. Pay attention to what they say. Pay attention to which way they point their eyes and point their toes, right? And so I think that the idea of global famine is coming closer and closer and getting bigger and bigger in the windshield. And at that point, again, that's when you'll see massive amounts of people flooding into Europe, as already have. I mean, in my view, I've been all over Europe. I spent more than 6 years in Europe, and I guess about 7. I've been all over Europe, right? I was just over in Sweden and all those places looking at the Baltic. But in my view, they've already had a kill shot on the so-called migration. It's already over the top. It's too many. I think at this point, they will already, just what they've already been hit with is enough. And it's happening to the United States as well. There's no mass deportations going on here. Furthermore, the Chinese are still coming over our border, by the way. Trump says that the border is closed. It's false. The border is still open. Chinese are still coming across our border at San Diego. So it's, it's still open.
Well, I mean, that's all depressing, but the positive thing is at least we know what is the off-ramp to get NATO to stop attacking Russia? What is the off-ramp because the mullahs themselves obviously know that if they make a deal, they'll just get bombed again later. They said, we don't trust this to ever hold. So their back's against the wall. They're going to keep the strait closed. And then that makes Israel happy because it hurts Iran, but it hurts the rest of the world. Israel brags about that. If Trump, if you were President Trump, and obviously you don't have any respect for him, you don't think he'll do the right thing, but he is being told by Laura Ingraham and Bill O'Reilly and all his confidants, hey, you look like an idiot. You're hurting the world. Everybody's turning against you. You better stop. So I think we could put enough pressure, hopefully, on him. But then how does he deal with Israel when he tells them don't attack Lebanon and they say F you?
I actually don't see an off ramp, which is strange. I mean, it's just war. This is a war. This is a highway to war. In fact,
well, there are points of no return.
We've passed the Pona right now, point of no return, right? It's over. And I think, in my view, it's over. The point of no return, we've passed that long ago. It's game on. And I think
that's what Tucker Carlson thinks. That's what Matt Bracken thinks. That's what everybody I talk to thinks.
Yeah, I mean,
Trump says all the military supports this, and 100% of his supporters support it with no evidence. I've found everybody I know in the military is against this.
I don't know anybody in the military that's for this.
You have more context than probably anybody. When you talk to active duty and others and former, and I mean, you know everybody for all your years of war correspondent. I mean, what are they saying?
I haven't seen anybody that's for this.
Yep. So looks like war. No off ramp. Crazy. It's totally fucking insane, dude. What's going on? It really is. It's totally insane. What do you think? What do you think about that? You think this is just a bunch of hype? You think it's going to just be another, money laundering operation, or do you think that this is really where it starts getting to the point to where we have famine and danger? I don't know. I don't know. It's pretty sad though. It really is pretty sad when you think about it, because like we have such a great country and a lot of great people, and it's going to turn people into cannibals in no time. That's what's going to happen if this continues. You're going to be having to fight to keep people off your property because they want what you got. It's going to be Mad Max. There's no way around it. I don't see any other way when you listen to the people that have been paying attention to this for years. Like Michael Yon, it's like it's horrible. Anyway, see what I forgot. Yeah, I think I'll save the Ben Shapiro stuff for another day. I was gonna, but nah, I think that's good. Good. I guess I could play this one. I pulled it in during one of the clip breaks. That's funny. The war will continue long after Trump is gone. What do you think of that? Let's go back to the section 219 real quick, where that guy was breaking down. Remember, I told you he broke down the what's in the actual bill. Check this out. Let's just revisit this before we get out of here for the night, just so you can see what's missing. Because remember we started off with with Glenn Beck telling us that it's just a great bill because it's perfect, and everybody else says it's just the worst thing ever, and that he's saying it's just we do this all the time. We don't have treaties with people like this. I mean, or whatever it is, coordinated. You can have what we have. Stand by.
Let's throw this entire treasonous abomination up on screen. Section 219, United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. The Secretary of Defense shall designate an executive agent as such term is defined in Department of Defense directive, responsible for synchronizing cooperative efforts between the United States and Israel to expand and accelerate bilateral defense technology research, development, testing, evaluation, integration, and industrial cooperation by, and here comes the big time list, identifying jointly developed or Israeli origin technologies with operational utility for potential integration, more integration into United States systems, ensuring collaborative research initiatives involving government, private sector. There's the merger of the corporation and the state once again, and academic institutions in the United States and Israel. This is a merger of everything, facilitating the transition of technologies, establishing frameworks for joint ventures, licensing agreements, and United States-based co-production or manufacturing partnerships with Israeli industry. Do you hear that? Let's read that one more time. Don't let that slip by. That's a surrendering of American soil to Israel by statute in the National Defense Authorization Act. United States-based co-production or manufacturing partnerships with Israeli industry. By statute, the United States Congress, the United States government is surrendering American territory, American soil to Israel. And it's all outlined right there in Section 219. Let's go right back into it. And by the way, this all comes back to an executive agent designated by the so-called Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, whoever the hell that guy calls himself, designated by Pete Hegseth. By Pete Hegseth, who's on record vowing to use the United States government as an instrument to build the third temple. Coordinating with relevant Department of Defense components, including the Irregular Warfare Technical Support Directorate, Capability Development and Innovation Divisions, irregular warfare. To wage irregular warfare on who? The American people, Palestinians, whoever they want. Promoting joint training exercises, which undoubtedly will take place on American soil. The synchronized cooperative efforts under subsection A may be carried out through the following domains. Now, this is important. Counter unmanned systems, including aerial, maritime, and ground platforms. Anti-tunneling, we've talked about that. Missile and air defense technologies. Artificial intelligence, quantum, machine learning, and autonomous systems. Directed energy and advanced sensing. Directed energy. Cyber defense, electronic warfare, and digital resilience, biotechnology, biomanufacturing, biomedical defense, network integration, data fusion, and contested logistics, defense industrial base cooperation, manufacturing, and co-production. There's more of that co-production right here on American soil. Other emerging technologies as jointly agreed by the United States and Israel. So whatever Israel says, as they say it. And don't think we're skipping over it. Biotech, biomanufacturing, medical defense. Let's get it all out there. Activities in coordination with other federal department and agencies. The Secretary of Defense shall coordinate activities as appropriate with the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Commerce. That's Howard Lutnick. And the heads of other relevant federal departments and agencies to ensure consistency with existing laws and regulations. Interim progress updates. They'll provide interim progress updates not later than 180 days after the enactment of this act on how things are going, how this integration, how this merger, how this surrendering of American sovereignty is going. And then they'll crack that whip. Speed it up, Goy. Speed it up, Kunta Kinte. You're all Kunta Kintes now. That's what this is. This is the enslavement of the American people. The destruction, the dissolution of the American Republic. And it ties right back into the dissolution of America's borders, which we will talk about in this evening's broadcast. Annual reports. How's that surrendering going? How's that selling out of the American people going? They'll provide an update every single year. They'll be describing how technologies are being transitioned to and fro. They'll give descriptions of partnerships established with American and Israeli industry. This isn't just government. It's not just military. And that's the end of Section 219.
Yeah, and so let's be clear. It's way more than what old Glenn Beck was saying. And it really is about taking our sovereignty. It really is about making us slaves to their world. And listen, all over the United States right now, block cameras everywhere, data centers going in everywhere. They're taking the water. So, you're not allowed to use water, but they can use water to cool their systems down. You can't, though. Data centers, what's it called? I was talking about it earlier with a friend of mine. Semiconductors, and the semiconductors are for everything you see, right? TVs, cars, phones, all your electronics, your remotes, everything, right? But the other part of it is the data centers that they're using. They're putting a data center in at the White House. It also has, remember we've talked about this, it also has in the basement military operation as well. And so I don't know the whole thing around the whole thing that operation that's going on at the White House. They call it a ballroom, but it's not a ballroom. It's an operation. It's a complete military operation with data centers. And so I'm wondering where they're going to put all the solar panels, to operate it, to run it. So data centers, flock cameras. So that's the what do you call it? The surveillance part. And so in that bill that he was just reading, it talked about data centers, data, whatever they call it, data mine, whatever they called it. Because they hide it in the words so that you don't exactly know what they're talking about, so that they can track everything you do. This is the new world order in our face. This is the own nothing and be happy in your face. Exactly what Yuval Harari was talking about. Same thing that Bill Gates is doing with the shots and all the poison and all that stuff. Same thing with what they're doing to geoengineering in the sky. All this stuff, man, that they're doing to us. Why? Why can't we go back to what it was like in 1970? You know what I mean? Where, we had a free country, and, where your kids could go to school. They could just walk to school. Now you can't let your kids walk down the fucking street because they'll get kidnapped and sold for sex slaves. I mean, it's just crazy. The shit that's going on is out of control. How much longer is this going to go on? How much longer are we going to allow this to happen? Like, I really, really thought, look, I used to get on my knees at night in 2023 and 24 and pray with my children for Trump to get elected in office to clean this mess up. And now he is the ringleader for it. What happened? Is it exactly what the so-called conspiracy theorists are saying? That this was just the whole plan the whole time to get into his second term so he could turn this place upside down? Because that's what he's done. And we can be, MAGA, and we could talk about how he's done all these great things, which he has done some good stuff. I know that I don't know where it's at because I haven't seen any articles on it lately, but they did take the vaccine, the childhood vaccine from 72 vaccines to like 23 maybe, or something like that. They did do that. And I don't know if it passed or if they said they were going to do it and then they just threw it on the shelf. I mean, there's lots of things that they've done. The what's the other thing that I've been waiting on? The Bruin decision. It's pending. They won the decision. And then it was supposed to be 6 months of repeal, or they do after you win a decision through the Supreme Court, then it goes through review and they get the rebuttal, and then it becomes law. Like misdemeanors and nonviolent felons being able to have their gun rights back, where how they unconstitutionally took everybody's gun rights and all that stuff. That stuff was 2 years ago. It should have happened by now, but they just slow walk us with everything. Oh yeah, we're going to do all this great stuff. We're going to give everybody their gun rights back and do all this stuff and blah 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 blah. And it just gets in the system and it just gets bogged down with fucking red tape. It's ridiculous. This is not what we signed up for. And if you think that MAGA is winning, you've lost your marbles. You're completely gone. Like there's nothing left of your brain. You probably need methylene blue or something. You know what I mean? Or maybe you need to get off psych meds. I don't know. But I mean, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me. It does not. None of this stuff makes sense. And I'll say one more thing before we end the broadcast tonight. Probably more than one thing, but I'm going to say a couple things. How's that? When I started this show, and I've said this a bunch, but for the newer audience, I'm going to give you a little synopsis of how I got here. It was probably 20 years ago. They were like, "Hey man, you should be voting." I'm like, "Oh fuck that! It's all fake. You vote for a politician. They say they're going to do all this great stuff. They never do it anyway. Fuck that." You know what I mean? That was my context. And then my brother-in-law, he tells me, "Hey man, you need to look at this." I'm like, "Oh, what is it?" You need to just give me 30 days. Watch what's going on here. Talking about geopolitics for 30 days and just look at it. You have common sense. Go ahead, take a look at it. And then after 30 days, if you don't see a reason for you to be engaged in this, then you can go put your head back in the sand and just stay there. And it took about a week. And I was irate. I was fucking livid. And Alex Jones was talking about if you can't go protest, if you can't, go to the city hall, or you can't go to school boards because of maybe you have a job that you're not able to take care of do that kind of stuff, then start a show, start a podcast, and start spreading the word about all the things that are happening and where we need to go and what we need to do. And so I did. And I started with a laptop and a camera. And it was horrifying. It was horrible. I mean, the shows early on back in 2020, 2021, it was ridiculous. But then I got a second camera and a second mic, and I started building on it, right? Had this computer that would work half the time, I'd have to start it 5 times to get it to work. I mean, I just kind of built from nothing, right? And while I started, and so for those of you that don't know, I have an autism, some form of autism, right? So when I get into something, I just focus on it and I can't stop. And that's what happened. I started getting into politics and looking at all the things and the people and what was going on and how this was going and what was going and all this stuff. And I just started digging in. And the shit that I found out in the first year blew my mind because I had no idea. And then the second year, I found out more things that I didn't know. I mean, like people, like for instance, Bongino, right? I thought Bongino was the, badass, super fucking great dude, blah, blah, blah. And then I found out years later that he was a piece of shit. Or name one. I mean, there's lots of them. There's lots of different characters out there that are just full of shit. And I'm a honest, integral man. I believe in family, God, country. That's it. I don't put my American flag up for 4th of July. I have a flag up always. I'm a patriot. I believe that's what I believe. I believe in America. And to see the things that are happening to this country, the things that have been allowed to happen in our country is sickening. It just is. It's just sickening. From the pedophilia to the stolen elections. I mean, and everything in between. It's sickening. And I stand before you or sit before you and swear to not let it go down. I'm going to fight and do whatever I have to do within the law, of course, obviously, nonviolent, to make a difference. And you should too. You should make a difference. Whether it's sharing clips, buying supplements from people, buying a t-shirt, buying Zeolite, whatever it is, doing something to further the purpose of what we're doing. Because if we don't do something about it, think about your children and what they're going to be left with. Because when we're gone, they're going to have to deal with this stuff that we didn't deal with if we don't deal with it. And I think about it every single day about how I can make this place a better place for my children. I mean, I've already lived my life. You know what I mean? I have a few years left. You know what I mean? Maybe 20 if I'm lucky. But my kids have their whole life ahead of them. You know what I mean? And it's about what we do as members of our communities that makes a difference for our children's future and our children's future. So God bless you all. Thank you for being here. Thanks for letting me go on a couple rants tonight. I really do appreciate it. Share this information everywhere. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Hopefully you liked what you heard tonight and you come back, and please go to the description in Rumble or Getter or YouTube and buy some supplements or buy some restorable food or a water filter or buy the Zeolite. You know what I mean? Support us, please. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? I really do. God bless you, and we'll be back Wednesday, I think, maybe Monday, but probably Wednesday. We'll see how it goes. If I get done with IT on Monday early enough, then I'll do a show on Monday, but it's probably going to be Wednesday. We'll see how it goes. God bless you all, and we will see you then. Good night.